I texted in the family group chat. My flight lands at 1 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I was coming home from a risky surgery in another state. My son. Why don't you ever plan ahead? My daughter-in-law. We're too busy today. Just call an Uber. I just replied, okay. Hours later, when they found out who had picked me up, my phone already had 48 missed calls. I texted in the family group chat. My flight lands at 1 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I stared at the screen, watching those 3 dots appear and disappear. Appear, disappear. My chest felt tight, not from the surgery, though God knows it had left its mark. No, this was different. This was the kind of tightness that comes from hoping for something you know you shouldn't hope for anymore. Vivian's message came first. We're too busy today. Just call an Uber. Then Aaron's. Why don't you ever plan ahead, Dad? I sat there in the sterile airport lounge, surrounded by the hum of announcements and the shuffle of strangers going home to people who actually wanted them there. My hands were shaking, partially from exhaustion, partially from something that felt dangerously close to heartbreak. I typed back the only thing I could manage. Okay. The surgery had been experimental, risky, the kind where they make you sign 17 different forms acknowledging you might not wake up. I'd gone alone because I didn't want to burden anyone. That's what I told myself anyway. The truth I'd been avoiding for years, was that I knew better than to ask. 18 years. That's how long it had been since Margaret died. 18 years of holidays spent cooking for people who showed up late and left early. 18 years of being the reliable one, the background character, the man who never made waves because waves required being seen in the first place. I stood up slowly, feeling every one of my 67 years in my bones. The scar across my chest, hidden beneath my button-down shirt, throbbed with each breath. They'd cracked me open like a walnut, rerouted arteries, stitched me back together, and sent me on my way with a bottle of pills and instructions to take it easy. Take it easy. As if I'd been living any other way. I was halfway to the rideshare pickup area when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Telemarketers had been relentless lately, but something made me swipe. Martin Cole? The voice was smooth, cultured, with just a hint of warmth that made it sound like we'd known each other for years, instead of having met exactly once, 6 months ago, in a consultation room that smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Dr. Sterling? Adrian, please. I just landed. Saw your flight on the arrivals board. Are you being picked up? I hesitated. There's a particular kind of shame that comes with admitting you're not wanted, even in the smallest ways. I'm getting a rideshare. Silence. Then, absolutely not. Stay where you are. I'll be there in 10 minutes. You don't have to. Martin. His tone shifted, became something firmer, more insistent. You just had major surgery. Under my consultation, I might add. If you think I'm letting you climb into a stranger's Honda Civic, you're delusional. 10 minutes. Don't move. He hung up before I could protest. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, feeling something unfamiliar bloom in my chest. Not hope, exactly. Hope felt too dangerous. But maybe something adjacent to it. Adrian Sterling was not a man who blended into backgrounds. Even in a consultation room 6 months ago, he'd commanded attention. Tall, silver-haired, with the kind of presence that made you sit up straighter without realizing it. He'd been brought in as a second opinion on my case, had spent 2 hours going over my scans, asking questions no one else had bothered to ask. "You live alone?" he'd said, not looking up from his notes. "Yes." "Support system?" "My son and his wife live about 20 minutes away." He'd looked up then, really looked at me, and I'd felt uncomfortably seen. That's not what I asked. I hadn't known how to answer that. Still didn't. The Bentley pulled up exactly 9 minutes later, sleek, silver, impossibly out of place in the airport pickup chaos. Adrian emerged from the driver's side wearing dark slacks and a cream sweater that probably cost more than my monthly pension. He moved toward me with purpose, and before I could say a word, he'd taken my carry-on bag from my trembling hands. "You look terrible," he said. But there was no judgment in it. Just fact, delivered with the clinical precision of someone who'd spent decades reading bodies for signs of distress. "I feel terrible," I admitted. "Because what was the point of lying?" "Then let's get you home." He opened the passenger door with one hand, steadied me with the other as I lowered myself into leather seats that felt like sitting on a cloud. The car smelled like cedar and something else. Cologne, maybe. Or just the scent of a life I'd never come close to touching. Adrian slid into the driver's seat with the grace of someone who'd never struggled with anything physical in his life. "Address?" I gave it to him. He programmed it into the GPS without comment, then pulled smoothly into traffic. We drove in silence for a while. Not the awkward kind, but the sort of quiet that feels like a gift after too much noise. I watched the city roll past. Familiar streets, familiar buildings, the whole landscape of a life I'd been living on autopilot for nearly 2 decades. "How are you feeling?" Adrian asked finally. "Physically, I mean. Pain level?" "Manageable. The pills help." "And mentally?" I turned to look at him. His eyes stayed on the road, but I could see the slight tension in his jaw, the way his hands gripped the wheel just a fraction too tight. He actually cared about the answer. "Tired," I said. Then, because something about the moment felt safe enough for honesty, "Lonely." He nodded slowly. "Surgery has a way of stripping everything down to essentials. You can't hide from yourself when someone's literally held your heart in their hands." "Is that what happened? During the surgery?" "Metaphorically speaking." A slight smile played at the corner of his mouth. "Though I did review the surgical footage. Dr. Chen did exceptional work. You should send her flowers." "I should send you flowers. You're the one who recommended her." "I recommended her because she's brilliant, not because I wanted gratitude." He paused, signaling a turn onto my street. "Though, if you're offering, I prefer orchids. White ones. They last longer." Was he flirting? No. Impossible. Men like Adrian Sterling didn't flirt with men like me. Men like me didn't get flirted with at all. We pulled into my driveway, a modest ranch house that had somehow grown too large and too small simultaneously after Margaret died. Too large because every room echoed with absence. Too small because it contained all the disappointment of becoming someone I never meant to be. Adrian cut the engine. "Keys?" I handed them over, too exhausted to question it. He came around, opened my door, offered his hand. I took it, his palm warm and steady against mine, and let him help me out. Inside, my house looked exactly as I'd left it. Clean, organized, soulless. Adrian moved through it like he owned the place, depositing my bag by the stairs, checking the thermostat, opening my refrigerator and frowning at its sparse contents. When did you last eat? Airplane peanuts? That's not food, Martin. That's survival rations. He pulled out his phone, already typing. I'm having groceries delivered. Any allergies? Dietary restrictions? You don't have to. Stop saying that. He looked up and there was something almost fierce in his expression. You've just had major surgery. You live alone. Your family couldn't be bothered to pick you up from the airport. Someone needs to make sure you don't collapse in your kitchen at 3 a.m. reaching for crackers. Today, that someone is me. I should have been offended. Should have defended Aaron and Vivian, made excuses about their busy lives and demanding schedules. Instead, I felt my throat tighten with something that might have been gratitude or might have been grief. Sometimes they feel the same. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded, satisfied, and returned to his phone. 30 minutes later, my kitchen counters were covered with fresh food. Adrian had unpacked everything, organized my medications into a labeled pill box, and somehow convinced me to eat half a sandwich while sitting at my own kitchen table like a guest in my own life. Rest, he said, rinsing our plates. Doctor's orders. You're not my doctor. I consulted on your case. Close enough. He dried his hands on a towel, then pulled out his phone again. I'm taking a photo, for my records. Of what? You. Looking considerably less terrible than you did an hour ago. He held up the phone. I barely had time to protest before the shutter clicked. I didn't think anything of it. Not until later. Not until my phone started ringing, and ringing, and ringing. The first call came at 6:47 p.m. I was half asleep on the couch, neck bent at an angle that would punish me tomorrow when my phone vibrated so violently it nearly fell off the coffee table. Aaron's name lit up the screen. I answered groggily. Hello? Dad? His voice carried that particular edge he got when Vivian was standing next to him, coaching. I saw Dr. Sterling's post. I blinked, still foggy from medication and exhaustion. What post? On LinkedIn and Instagram. And Jesus, Dad. Do you have any idea who this man is? He's the cardiologist who consulted on my surgery. He's not just a muffled sound, like Aaron covering the phone. Vivian's voice in the background, sharp and insistent. Then Aaron again. We're coming over. I'm actually about to sleep. We're already in the car. Click. I stared at the phone, confusion slowly crystallizing into something that felt uncomfortably like dread. I pulled up Instagram, an app I'd downloaded years ago and barely understood, and searched for Adrian's name. There it was, the photo he'd taken just hours ago. Me, sitting at my kitchen table, looking admittedly rough but alive. The caption read, "Had the privilege of ensuring Martin Cole made it home safely after his incredible courage facing a complex cardiac procedure. Honored to know such a resilient spirit." Cardiology, patient care, courage. The post had 14,000 likes. 14,000. Dr. Adrian Sterling, according to his profile, had 847,000 followers. He was verified. Blue check mark. Listed credentials that read like a medical fantasy. Chief of cardiology at 3 different hospitals, consultant to international health organizations, keynote speaker, researcher, author. And he'd posted about me. I scrolled through the comments, feeling increasingly unmoored from reality. What an inspiration! Dr. Sterling, you're a real one for this. The world needs more physicians who actually care. Then, buried about 40 comments down, OMG, is that the same Dr. Sterling our company has been trying to book for the annual conference? The username, Vivian Cole Pharma. Oh, oh no. The doorbell rang 16 minutes later. I'd barely managed to splash water on my face and change into a clean shirt before Aaron and Vivian burst through the door like they were storming a castle. Dad? Aaron's hug was perfunctory, obligatory. You should have told us you were being treated by Adrian Sterling. I did tell you. 6 months ago, you said, "That's nice, Dad," and changed the subject to Vivian's promotion. Vivian stepped forward, her smile so bright it could have powered the neighborhood. Martin, I had no idea you were personal friends with Dr. Sterling. I'm not. He consulted on my case. He happened to be at the airport and offered me a ride. He stocked your fridge, Vivian said, gesturing toward the kitchen like she'd personally inventoried it. That's not standard doctor behavior. You must have made quite an impression. There was something predatory in her eyes. I'd seen it before, usually in meetings she'd describe over dinner, discussing targets and strategic relationships. I'd never imagined becoming one. He was being kind, I said carefully. That's all. Kind enough to post about you to nearly 1 million people. She pulled out her phone, scrolling rapidly. Do you know how long I've been trying to get a meeting with him? 8 months. 8 months of emails, calls, trying to get him to speak at our pharmaceutical conference. He's refused every single request. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he'd respond to a personal introduction. She looked up and her smile had sharpened into something that made my chest hurt for reasons unrelated to surgery. From someone he clearly respects. Absolutely not. The words came out harder than I'd intended. Both Aaron and Vivian blinked like I'd slapped them. Dad, Aaron started using his reasonable voice. Vivian's just asking for a simple introduction. You're already connected. It would be... No. You're being unreasonable. I'm being protective. I stood up slowly, feeling every staple in my chest. Adrian helped me today because he's a good person, not because he wanted to be leveraged for business contacts. I won't disrespect that. Vivian's smile finally cracked. Disrespect? I'm trying to bring world-class medical education to our conference. How is that disrespectful? Because you don't care about the medical education. You care about the optics. You care about having his name on your promotional materials. And I'm not going to be the bridge you walk across to get there. Silence. Aaron looked at me like I'd grown a second head. In 18 years, I'd never said no to them. Not when they'd asked me to babysit their non-existent children. They'd decided kids would complicate career trajectories. Not when they'd asked me to co-sign their second mortgage. Not when they'd asked me to skip Margaret's memorial anniversary dinner because it conflicted with Vivian's work gala. I'd been convenient, reliable, forgettable. Maybe the surgery had cracked more than just my sternum. I think you should leave, I said quietly. I'm tired. They left, but not before Vivian turned in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral. Think about it, Martin. It's just coffee. One introduction. That's all I'm asking. After they'd gone, I sat in the growing darkness of my living room and thought about all the times I'd said yes when I meant no. All the times I'd made myself smaller so other people could feel bigger. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I hope the vultures didn't descend too quickly. Stared at the message. How did he... Another text. Saw your daughter-in-law in the comments. Fair warning. I don't mix personal care with professional networking. Ever. Sleep well, Martin. I typed back. How did you get my number? You gave it to me 6 months ago. Consultation paperwork, emergency contact section. You listed yourself. That's because I don't have anyone else. The moment I sent it, I regretted it. Too honest. Too pathetic. Too much. But Adrian's response came quickly. Now you have me. Good night, Martin. I fell asleep on the couch again, phone clutched in my hand, feeling something I hadn't felt in 18 years. Less alone. Adrian called 3 days later. I was attempting to change the bandage on my chest. A complicated operation involving mirrors, medical tape, and significant cursing when my phone rang. I nearly dropped the gauze pad. Martin? You sound breathless. I'm trying to. I caught sight of myself in the bathroom mirror, shirtless, pale, sporting an angry red scar that bisected my torso like a roadmap of poor decisions. Never mind. What can I do for you? Have dinner with me. I froze. I'm sorry? Dinner. Tonight, if you're feeling up to it. Nothing elaborate. There's a small Italian place downtown that makes exceptional osso buco. They know me, so we can get a quiet table. Why? A pause. Do I need a reason to have dinner with someone whose company I enjoy? People don't usually enjoy my company. Then you've been spending time with the wrong people. His voice softened slightly. I'd like to see how you're healing. And selfishly, I'd like someone intelligent to talk to. Most of my dinners lately have involved pharmaceutical reps trying to sell me things. It's exhausting. I thought about Vivian, about Aaron calling twice more, each time circling back to, just a quick introduction, Dad. About the way my house had felt even emptier than usual these past 3 days. What time? 7. I'll pick you up at 6:30. He arrived at 6:20, because of course he did. The Bentley looked even more absurd in my driveway in daylight. A silver spaceship landed in suburbia. The neighbor's curtains twitched. Adrian emerged wearing charcoal slacks and a navy sweater that probably cost more than my first car. He looked at my khakis and button-down shirt with gentle assessment. You look nice, he said. I look like a retired insurance adjuster. You were an insurance adjuster? For 38 years. Then you look exactly right. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from austere to warm. Shall we? The restaurant was small, intimate, tucked into a corner of downtown I'd never noticed, despite driving past it for years. The owner, a tiny Italian woman who barely reached Adrian's shoulder, greeted him like family, then looked at me with open curiosity. Dottore, you bring a friend? Finally? Rosa, this is Martin. Martin? Rosa makes the best risotto in the state, and will absolutely judge you if you don't clean your plate. Clean plate, happy heart, Rosa said, patting my arm. You look like you need feeding. Sit. She led us to a corner table, candle already lit, wine glasses waiting. The restaurant was half full, couples mostly, speaking in low tones. The whole atmosphere suggesting this was the kind of place you brought people who mattered. I hope you're not vegetarian, Adrian said, scanning the menu. Because if you leave here without trying Rosa's braised short ribs, you've wasted an evening. I eat everything. Dangerous statement to make. I'll hold you to it. We ordered, Adrian handling it with the ease of someone who'd done this 100 times, asking Rosa about her grandson's graduation, commenting on the new artwork on the walls. He belonged here. I felt like a museum guest who'd wandered into the wrong exhibit. You're quiet, Adrian observed after Rosa left with our orders. I'm trying to figure out why I'm here. Because I invited you. No, I mean, why did you invite me? We barely know each other. He leaned back, considering me with that clinical assessment I was beginning to recognize. Do you know what I do all day, Martin? Save lives? Disappoint people. He said it matter-of-factly. I tell people their hearts are failing. I explain that surgery might help or might not. I watch families fracture under stress. I see people at their absolute worst, frightened, angry, desperate. He paused as Rosa delivered our wine. Then I met you. You came into that consultation terrified, alone, and still managed to ask how my day was going. Do you remember that? I didn't. You asked if I'd had lunch, said I looked tired. He smiled faintly. I'd been in surgery for 6 hours. I was tired. But no one asks the surgeon if he's okay. We're supposed to be machines. You're not a machine. No. But I've pretended to be one for so long, I'd almost forgotten. He raised his glass. To people who see past the pretense. We clinked glasses. The wine was excellent, rich, warm, tasting like it cost more than my monthly electric bill. The food arrived, and it was extraordinary. We talked, really talked. Adrian told me about growing up in Boston, the son of a surgeon father who'd wanted him to go into finance, and a mother who'd supported his medical dreams by secretly paying for his MCAT prep. I told him about Margaret, about how we'd met at a church picnic and married 6 months later because waiting seemed pointless when you knew. How long were you married? 43 years. She died of pancreatic cancer, fast. 6 weeks from diagnosis to... I couldn't finish. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Sorry doesn't bring her back. No, Adrian agreed. But it's all we have to offer sometimes. That and presence. You're good at presence. Years of practice. Being present is the only real skill that matters in medicine. Everything else is just memorization and mechanics. We talked about Aaron, carefully, because it hurt. About how he'd grown distant after Margaret died, like he blamed me for not saving her. About Vivian and her relentless ambition, her way of turning every relationship into a transaction. She's called me 4 times, Adrian said, cutting into his short ribs, left voicemails, sent a LinkedIn message. I've ignored all of them. She won't give up. I know. I've dealt with people like her before. They see relationships as leverage. He looked at me directly. You're not leverage, Martin. I want you to know that. Something in my chest cracked, not surgically, but emotionally. The wall I'd built around 18 years of loneliness developed a fissure. Thank you, I whispered. After dinner, Adrian insisted on walking me to my door. The night was cool, autumn settling into that particular temperature where you can see your breath but don't quite need a coat. At my doorstep, he paused. I'm going to the symphony next month, Mahler's 5th. Would you be interested? I don't know anything about classical music. Perfect. I'll enjoy explaining it. He smiled. Think about it. No pressure. He waited until I was inside, door locked, lights on. I watched through the window as the Bentley pulled away, feeling like Cinderella after the ball, but without the midnight curfew. My phone rang almost immediately. Aaron. Dad, Vivian saw you at Cafe Marcello with Dr. Sterling. We had dinner. Dad. That tone again. Exasperation mixed with something harder. What are you doing? Eating osso buco. It was delicious. This isn't a joke. Do you understand what kind of opportunity you're wasting? If you would just introduce them. No. Dad, I hung up. Then I turned off my phone, poured myself a glass of water, took my evening medications, and went to bed feeling something I'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. The invitation arrived by messenger. Not email, not text. An actual cream-colored envelope, delivered to my door by a young man in a uniform who asked me to sign for it. Inside, embossed lettering announced, "The City Symphony Orchestra requests the honor of your presence. 2 tickets, premium seating, a handwritten note tucked inside. Wear something comfortable. The seats are excellent, but the chairs are museum pieces." AI held those tickets like they were made of glass. Aaron and Vivian showed up unannounced that evening. I'd started to expect it, the way you expect thunderstorms after seeing certain clouds. "You're going to the symphony gala?" Vivian's voice pitched higher than usual. She'd found the invitation on my kitchen counter, probably while I was in the bathroom. Privacy had never been her strong suit. "Adrian invited me. The Symphony Gala isn't just a concert, Martin. It's the social event of the season. Everyone who matters will be there." She clutched the invitation like evidence. "This is perfect. I can finally meet him properly, in a neutral setting." "You're not invited." "I can buy tickets." "No." I took the invitation back, gently but firmly. "This is between Adrian and me. You're not inserting yourself into it." Her expression shuddered. "I'm trying to advance my career. I thought family supported each other." "I've supported you for years. I co-signed your mortgage. I drove you to the airport at 4 a.m. when Aaron had the flu. I pretended not to notice when you forgot my birthday 3 years running." I kept my voice level, calm. "But this, Adrian is my friend, not your networking opportunity." "Friend." She said it like the word tasted wrong. "Martin. Men like Adrian Sterling don't befriend men like you. He's using you for something. Figure out what before you embarrass yourself." After they left, I stood in my empty kitchen and wondered if she was right. The night of the gala, I stood in front of my closet having a quiet crisis. I owned 3 suits. One was from Margaret's funeral, black, depressing, smelling faintly of mothballs. One was beige and purchased in 1997. The third was navy and almost appropriate, except for the width of the lapels which screamed, "different century." My phone buzzed. "Adrian, I'm sending someone over. Don't panic." 20 minutes later, a man named Julian arrived with a garment bag and an expression of professional determination. "Dr. Sterling said you needed assistance, may I?" Julian was a miracle worker. He took one look at my closet, made a sound like a disappointed violin, and opened his garment bag to reveal a charcoal suit that fit like it had been made for me. Because apparently it had been. "Dr. Sterling provided your measurements from your medical file," Julian explained, adjusting the shoulders. "He said you'd argue if he told you in advance." He was right. He usually is. Julian produced a tie, deep emerald silk that caught the light. "This will bring out your eyes. Trust me." An hour later, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. The suit made me look taller, straighter. The tie added color I hadn't worn in years. Julian had even convinced me to let him trim my hair. "Extraordinary," Julian pronounced. "Dr. Sterling will be pleased." Adrian arrived at 6:45 sharp, wearing a black tuxedo that should have been illegal. He stopped in my doorway, and something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or appreciation. "Martin, you look—" He paused. "That tie. Too much?" "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." He smiled, and I felt it like physical warmth. Ready? The symphony hall was transformed. Lights, flowers, people in evening wear that cost more than cars. We were escorted to our seats, third row center, close enough to see the musicians' expressions, and I felt every eye in the place tracking our movement. "They're staring," I murmured. "Let them." Adrian's hand brushed my lower back, guiding me. "You belong here as much as anyone." The orchestra was magnificent. Mahler's Fifth Symphony rolled over me in waves, mournful, triumphant, devastating. During the adagietto, Adrian leaned close and whispered, "This movement, it's a love letter." Mahler wrote it for his wife. I felt tears prick my eyes. The music seemed to reach into my chest and squeeze. Intermission arrived like a reprieve. The lobby filled with chatter, champagne, people air-kissing and networking. Adrian kept his hand on my elbow, steering me through crowds, introducing me to conductors and donors and people whose names I immediately forgot. Then I saw them. Aaron and Vivian, dressed to kill, making their way toward us through the crowd. Vivian's smile was predatory. She'd bought tickets after all. "Dr. Sterling!" She extended her hand like a weapon. "What a pleasure to finally meet properly. I'm Vivian Cole, Martin's daughter-in-law. I've been hoping to—" "I know who you are." Adrian's voice dropped several degrees. He didn't take her hand. "Your voicemails were very thorough." The crowd around us went silent. In social circles like these, public dismissal was blood sport. Vivian's smile flickered. "I was hoping we might discuss—" "No." Adrian's tone was polite but absolute. "I don't conduct business at social events, and I certainly don't entertain pitches from people who couldn't be bothered to pick up their father from the airport after major surgery." The silence deepened. Someone gasped. Aaron stepped forward, face reddening. "That's not fair, isn't it?" Adrian turned to him, and I'd never seen anyone look so calm while eviscerating someone. "Your father nearly died. He texted asking for help. You told him to call an Uber. So he's not your priority. Why should he make you mine?" "Dr. Sterling," Vivian tried again. "I'm here with Martin." Adrian's hand moved to my shoulder, possessive and protective. "As his date, not as a networking opportunity. If you can't respect that boundary, I'll have security escort you out." Date. The word hung in the air like a chandelier about to fall. Vivian's face cycled through shock, anger, calculation. Aaron looked like he'd been slapped. The crowd pretended not to listen while listening to every syllable. Adrian turned to me, his expression softening completely. "Shall we get some air?" I nodded, speechless. He guided me through French doors onto a balcony overlooking the city. The night air was cold, clarifying. Below us, lights sparkled like earthbound stars. "I'm sorry," Adrian said quietly. "That was presumptuous. I should have asked before claiming you as my date." "Did you mean it?" He looked at me, really looked, the way he had in that consultation room 6 months ago. "I don't say things I don't mean, Martin. Not about medicine. Not about people I care for. I'm 67 years old." "I'm 62. What's your point?" "I haven't. I've been alone for 18 years. I don't know how to—" "Neither do I." He smiled slightly. "I've spent 30 years married to my career. I'm terrible at relationships. I work too much. I'm obsessive about schedules. I correct people's grammar at dinner parties. You're also kind and brilliant, and you actually see people." "I see you." He stepped closer. I've been seeing you since that first consultation. The way you asked about everyone else before yourself. The way you apologized for taking up time, like you'd been taught your whole life that you were an inconvenience. His hand found mine. You're not an inconvenience, Martin. You're extraordinary. Behind us, the 5-minute bell chimed. Second half starting soon. We should go back, I said, but didn't move. Yes. He didn't move either. Then, carefully, giving me every opportunity to pull away, Adrian leaned in and kissed me. It was gentle, soft, tasting of champagne and possibility. His hand cupped my face like I was something precious. When he pulled back, I was crying. Too much? He asked, concerned. Not enough, I whispered. Not nearly enough. We returned to our seats holding hands. Vivian and Aaron had moved to the opposite side of the hall. The people around us pretended not to notice, which meant everyone had noticed. The second half of the symphony was transcendent. And when Adrian's hand tightened on mine during the final movement's triumphant conclusion, I realized something profound. I was allowed to be happy. After 18 years of penance I'd never earned, I was allowed to choose joy. The calls started before we'd even left the parking lot. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Aaron, Vivian, numbers I didn't recognize, group chats I'd been added to without permission. I turned it off and watched the city lights blur past the Bentley's windows. Regrets? Adrian asked quietly, eyes on the road. About tonight? No. I turned to look at him. This elegant man who'd somehow decided I was worth his time. About turning off my phone? Absolutely not. He laughed. A real laugh, warm and surprised. Good. Because I'm taking you somewhere, and you'll need your full attention. It's nearly midnight. Perfect timing. We drove out of the city, into hills I'd never explored despite living here for 40 years. The road narrowed, climbed, curved through trees that blocked out the sky. I should have been nervous, alone in a car with someone I barely knew, heading to an unknown destination. Instead, I felt calm, safe. Adrian pulled into a lookout point I didn't know existed. Come on, he said, killing the engine. The view was breathtaking. The entire city spread below us, lights twinkling like a galaxy made of electricity and human hope. The air was crisp, clean, carrying the scent of pine and approaching winter. Adrian leaned against the hood, patting the space beside him. I joined him, our shoulders touching. I discovered this place during my residency, he said. 23 years old, exhausted, convinced I'd made a terrible mistake choosing medicine. I'd just lost my first patient. 7-year-old girl, congenital heart defect. Nothing we could do. I came up here planning to quit. What changed your mind? The view. I sat here for 3 hours watching the city breathe. All those lights, each one representing someone living, loving, struggling, surviving. I thought about that little girl, about how her parents would see these lights differently now, about how grief and joy exist simultaneously, how both are valid. He turned to me. I didn't quit, but I learned to carry the weight differently. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know. I understand carrying weight you didn't ask for, being responsible for things beyond your control. And I understand that choosing happiness feels like betrayal when you've spent years in grief. He'd seen right through me. Again. Margaret loved city lights, I heard myself say. She'd make me drive downtown at Christmas just to see the decorations. Said each light was someone's wish made visible. My throat tightened. After she died, I couldn't look at lights without feeling guilty, like I was seeing beauty she'd never see again. And now? I looked at the city, really looked, for the first time in 18 years. Now I think maybe she'd be angry if I kept living in darkness because she couldn't be here. Adrian's hand found mine. She sounds like she was extraordinary. She was. She'd have liked you. Would she approve of this? He gestured between us. I thought about Margaret, her laugh, her fierce love, her absolute insistence that I never dim myself for anyone. She'd tell me I was an idiot for waiting so long. Then she'd demand to meet you and interrogate you about your intentions. My intentions are entirely honorable and somewhat terrified. You? Terrified? Martin, I haven't dated in 15 years. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know that when I'm with you, I feel less like a machine and more like a person. He squeezed my hand. That's terrifying and wonderful simultaneously. We sat there until the sky started lightening, not talking, just existing together. When Adrian finally drove me home, dawn was breaking pink and gold over the horizon. At my door, he kissed me again, longer this time, deeper, his hand tangling in my hair. I felt like a teenager, dizzy and alive. Dinner tomorrow? He asked against my lips. I'll cook. Come to my place. You just had major surgery. I'm making pasta, not rebuilding an engine. He smiled. 6 o'clock. I'll bring wine. I floated inside, exhausted and exhilarated, and immediately turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, 63 texts. I deleted them all without reading and went to bed. The next evening, I cooked. Simple food. Fettuccine with garlic and olive oil, salad, bread I'd bought from the good bakery downtown. I cleaned my house properly for the first time in months, lit candles, tried not to overthink everything. Adrian arrived with flowers, white orchids, and wine that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Your home is lovely, he said, looking around at my modest furniture, my dated decor, my walls covered in photos of a life before loneliness. It's old. It's lived in. There's a difference. He paused at a photo of Margaret and me on our wedding day. She was beautiful. Yes. I'm not trying to replace her. I know. You couldn't. You're different. Both important. Both real. I took his hand. I'm allowed to have both histories, aren't I? Yes. He kissed my forehead. God, yes. Dinner was easy. We talked about everything and nothing. His research, my insurance career, books we'd read, places we'd never been. Adrian had traveled everywhere. I'd barely left the state. We should fix that, he said, pouring more wine. Where do you want to go? I've never thought about it. Then think now. Anywhere in the world. I considered. The ocean. Somewhere quiet. Where I can hear waves. Oregon coast. 3 hours from here. Beautiful, empty beaches. We could go next weekend if you're feeling strong enough. Just like that? Why not? Life is short, Martin. Medicine has taught me that, if nothing else. We were washing dishes together, him washing, me drying, when my doorbell rang. I knew before opening it. Of course I did. Aaron stood on my porch, Vivian beside him, both wearing expressions of determined intervention. We need to talk, Aaron said. Now isn't a good time. Dad, this is serious. Can we come in? Adrian appeared behind me, dish towel still in hand. Hello, Aaron. Vivian? The temperature dropped 20 degrees. Vivian's smile was ice. Dr. Sterling, how convenient. This concerns you too. I doubt that, Adrian said mildly. But please come in. Let's have this conversation properly. We sat in my living room, Adrian and me on the couch, Aaron and Vivian in the chairs opposite. It felt like a tribunal. Dad, Aaron started, using his reasonable voice. We're concerned about this relationship. Your concern is noted. You barely know him. It's been, what, 2 weeks? I've known Adrian for 6 months. We've spent considerable time together recently. I'm 67 years old and don't require your permission. Vivian leaned forward. Martin, we just want you to be realistic. Dr. Sterling is an internationally renowned physician. You're, well, beneath him, I finished quietly. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I looked at her, really looked, seeing past the expensive clothes and careful makeup to the calculating ambition beneath. You've never thought I was good enough. Not for your elite circles. Not for your professional networks. I've been the embarrassing relative you tolerate because I'm useful when you need something. That's not true. It is, and I've accepted it because I thought making myself small was how I showed love. I felt Adrian's hand on my knee, grounding. But I'm done with that. I'm done apologizing for existing. I'm done being convenient. Aaron stood up, agitated. This is about her, isn't it? Vivian wanting to meet Dr. Sterling professionally. You're punishing us. No. Adrian's voice cut through. He's protecting me. Because unlike you, he actually respects boundaries. He stood, moving to stand beside me. Let me be very clear. I am not interested in your pharmaceutical conference. I am not interested in your networking events. I am not available for professional consultation through family connections. That's not what this is about, Vivian tried. Isn't it? You ignored your father-in-law after major surgery, but the moment you realized I'd helped him, suddenly he's valuable. That's not love. That's transaction. Adrian's hand found my shoulder. Martin is remarkable. He's kind, thoughtful, braver than anyone gives him credit for. And yes, I care for him. Deeply. That's not your business or your concern. The silence was arctic. Aaron's face had gone through several shades of red before settling on something approaching purple. You don't understand, he said, voice tight. My entire life I've had to what? I asked quietly. Be embarrassed by your ordinary father? The insurance adjuster who wasn't impressive enough for your friends? That's not... It is. The words came easier now, like a dam finally breaking. Do you remember your college graduation? You introduced me to your girlfriend's parents as Martin instead of your father. When they asked what I did, you changed the subject. I was 22. You were ashamed. You've been ashamed ever since. I stood up, Adrian rising beside me. Your mother was never ashamed. She'd introduce me to everyone. The bank teller, the mayor, everyone, as her husband. Like it was the most important title in the world. Vivian made an exasperated sound. This is absurd. We're trying to help you avoid making a mistake. The mistake was mine, I said. 18 years of letting you treat me like furniture. Useful, forgettable, always there when needed. I looked at Aaron, my son, this stranger with my eyes. I love you. I always will. But I don't like who you've become. And I won't sacrifice my happiness to make you comfortable anymore. Dad, please leave. They did, eventually. But not before Vivian delivered one final shot. He'll get bored, Martin. Men like him always do. And when he's gone, don't expect us to pick up the pieces. The door closed. Silence filled the house like water. I stood there, shaking, feeling like I'd just run a marathon. Adrian's arms came around me from behind, steadying. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "I might have just destroyed my relationship with my son. You set a boundary. That's different from destruction. What if she's right? What if you do get bored?" Adrian turned me around, hands on my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Martin, listen to me. I am a 58-year-old cardiologist with obsessive-compulsive tendencies and a complete inability to suffer fools. I haven't been in a relationship in 15 years because most people bore me within 20 minutes." He smiled slightly. "You fascinate me. Your kindness, your resilience, the way you see the world. I'm not going anywhere unless you ask me to leave. What if I'm too damaged, too old, too human?" He kissed me softly. "Martin, damaged is just another word for experienced. Old is just another word for wise. And human is the only thing worth being." We finished the dishes in comfortable silence. Adrian helped me put away the food, navigating my kitchen like he belonged there. Maybe he did. "Stay," I heard myself say. "Tonight. Don't go." He paused, dish towel in hand. "Are you sure?" "I'm terrified, but yes." We didn't do anything dramatic. Adrian borrowed a t-shirt that was comically small on his frame. We brushed our teeth side by side at the bathroom sink like an old married couple. Got into bed, my bed, where I'd slept alone for 18 years, and just held each other. "Tell me something true," Adrian said into the darkness. "I haven't felt this alive since before Margaret died." "Does that make you feel guilty?" "Yes, and grateful, both at once." "That's called healing," he said. "It's supposed to feel complicated." I fell asleep listening to his heartbeat. Steady, strong, the rhythm of a life still being lived. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and found Adrian in my kitchen, fully dressed, reading something on his phone with a frown. "What's wrong?" He looked up. "Vivian sent me an email at 3 a.m. 12 paragraphs about how you're vulnerable and I'm taking advantage." "I'm sorry." "Don't be." I forwarded it to my attorney. "If she contacts me again, we're filing harassment charges." He set down his phone. "Coffee?" We spent the morning in comfortable domesticity. Breakfast, newspaper, the small rituals of togetherness. Around 11, Adrian's phone rang. "I have to take this," he said, checking the screen. "Hospital." He stepped into the other room. I heard his voice shift into professional mode, clipped and precise. When he returned, his expression was troubled. "I have an emergency surgery. Teenager, car accident, heart damage." He grabbed his keys. "I'm sorry, I have to go." "Of course. Do you need anything?" He kissed me quickly, thoroughly. "I need you to be here when I get back, however long that takes." "I'm not going anywhere." He left in a rush, and my house felt immediately emptier. I spent the afternoon cleaning, organizing, trying not to watch the clock. Around 4, my doorbell rang. Not Aaron, not Vivian. A woman in her 60s, well-dressed, carrying a casserole dish. "Martin Cole?" "Yes?" "I'm Diane Chen. I performed your surgery." She smiled. Adrian called me, said you might need company while he's working. Hope you like chicken pot pie. I stared at her. He called his colleague to check on me? He called his friend. I happen to also be his colleague. She brushed past me into the house. Kitchen this way? Good. Let's heat this up. You look like you haven't eaten. Dr. Diane Chen was a force of nature. She commandeered my kitchen, made tea, and within 15 minutes had extracted my entire life story. So you're the man who's making Adrian act human, she said, cutting pie. Thank God. We were starting to worry he'd fossilize in his office. He talks about me? Talks about you? Martin, he's insufferable. Martin said the funniest thing. Martin has this perspective. I threatened to revoke his cafeteria privileges if he didn't shut up. She grinned. It's wonderful. I've known Adrian 20 years, never seen him like this. Like what? Happy. Unguarded. Actually living instead of just existing between surgeries. She squeezed my hand. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. We ate pot pie and talked about surgery, recovery, the strange vulnerability of being opened up and stitched back together. Diane left around 6 with a hug and an invitation to dinner next week. Both of you, she said firmly. Adrian needs friends who'll tell him when he's being an ass. You seem like you might be brave enough. Adrian returned at 11:30, exhausted, still in his scrubs, splattered with blood. Surgery went well, he said, leaning against my doorframe like it was the only thing holding him up. Kid's going to be fine, but I need a shower and possibly sleep for a week. I led him to my bathroom, started the shower, helped him peel off his scrubs. His body was lean, strong, marked with the tension of hours hunched over an operating table. Join me? He asked. We showered together. Nothing sexual, just warm water and gentle touch, washing away the day's weight. I shampooed his hair while he stood with his eyes closed, making small sounds of contentment. In bed, he curled against me like he'd been doing it for years. Diane came by, I said. I know. I asked her to. Why? Because I couldn't be here, and I didn't want you to be alone. He pressed a kiss to my shoulder. Because you matter to me, and I take care of people who matter. I'm not used to mattering. Get used to it. His arms tightened around me. You're stuck with me now. I fell asleep feeling safer than I had in 2 decades. The next week passed in a blur of normalcy that felt revolutionary. Adrian came over most evenings. We cooked together, watched movies, existed in the comfortable silence of 2 people learning each other's rhythms. He introduced me to his world gradually. Dinner with Diane and her wife, lunch with a colleague from research, coffee with the hospital administrator, who turned out to be hilarious. Each time, Adrian introduced me the same way. This is Martin, my partner. Partner. The word felt too big and exactly right simultaneously. Then came the invitation that changed everything. The hospital's annual benefit gala, Adrian said, showing me the elegant card. It's black tie, formal, attended by everyone from donors to board members. I usually skip it. He looked at me carefully. But this year, I'd like to go. With you. That's huge. Public. Yes. Your professional reputation is mine to risk. Martin, I'm not hiding you. I'm not hiding us. If people have a problem with it, that's their problem. He took my hands. But I won't push. If you're not ready, I'm ready. I was terrified, but I wasn't ready. I just need a suit that doesn't look like it survived Y2K. Adrian grinned. I'll call Julian. The gala was in 2 weeks. I had 14 days to prepare for the most public statement of my entire life. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew Aaron and Vivian would be there. They always were. Julian outdid himself. The suit was midnight blue, cut to emphasize shoulders I'd forgotten I had. The shirt was cream silk. The tie, emerald again, because Adrian apparently had strong opinions about my eyes, looked like liquid color. You're going to destroy him, Julian said, adjusting my collar with the precision of a surgeon. Absolute devastation. I'm 67 and still getting used to the gym 3 times a week. And you wear both beautifully. He stepped back, assessing. Confidence, Martin. You belong anywhere you choose to be. Easy for him to say. He wasn't about to walk into a room full of medical elite and social climbers as the boyfriend of the most respected cardiologist in the state. Boyfriend. Partner. Whatever we were calling it. Adrian picked me up at 6, wearing a classic tuxedo that made him look like he'd stepped out of a black and white film. You're staring, he said, amused. You're worth staring at. So are you. He kissed me softly. Ready for battle? Is it a battle? With your family present? Probably. He squeezed my hand. But I've got your back. The gala was held at the Grand Hotel, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, and the kind of wealth that whispers instead of shouts. We were announced at the entrance like visiting dignitaries. Dr. Adrian Sterling and Martin Cole. The room didn't fall silent, but I felt the shift in attention. Eyes tracking us. Whispers beginning. Adrian kept his hand on my lower back, proprietary and proud, as we made our way through the crowd. He introduced me to everyone. Hospital board members, major donors, colleagues I'd only seen in medical journals. Martin, this is Dr. Patricia Wallace, head of pediatric cardiology. Patricia, this is my partner, Martin. Every time. Never wavering, never apologetic. I tried to focus on conversations about fundraising and medical advancements, but I kept scanning the room, waiting for the inevitable. They arrived fashionably late. Aaron in a tuxedo that fit perfectly. Vivian in a red dress that cost more than my car, dripping with jewelry and calculated charm. She worked the room like a professional, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, touching arms, collecting business cards. Adrian saw them before I did. His hand tightened on mine. You okay? He murmured. Ask me in an hour. Dinner was a 12-course affair at assigned tables. Adrian and I were seated with Diane and her wife, the hospital CEO, and a cardiovascular researcher from Johns Hopkins. The conversation was brilliant, engaging, and I contributed more than I expected. Years of listening to Margaret had taught me how to ask good questions. You're charming them, Adrian whispered between courses. I'm being polite. Same thing in this context. Across the room, I could see Vivian watching us, calculating. Aaron looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. After dinner came dancing. The orchestra was live to playing standards from an era when romance meant eye contact and careful steps. Adrian led me onto the floor without asking, one hand at my waist, the other holding mine. We moved together like we'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. You can dance, I said, surprised. Cotillion, age 12. My mother insisted. He smiled. You're not terrible yourself. Margaret loved dancing. We took lessons before the wedding. Tell me about her. Really tell me. So I did. As we swayed in circles, I told him about Margaret's terrible cooking, her infectious laugh, the way she'd cry at commercials but remain stoic through actual crises, about how she'd loved me fiercely, completely, without reservation. "She sounds perfect," Adrian said. "She was human, flawed, real." I looked at him. "Like you. Smooth talker. Honest talker." He kissed me, right there on the dance floor, in front of 500 people. Not performatively, not to make a statement, just because he wanted to. The music stuttered. Conversations paused. Then, gradually, resumed. We'd crossed some invisible line. Back at our table, Diane grinned like a Cheshire cat. "Subtle, Sterling. Very subtle. I'm 62 years old. Subtle is for people with more time to waste." The evening continued. Speeches, more dancing, silent auctions I couldn't afford to participate in. Adrian bid on a weekend at a coastal resort and won it specifically for us. "Oregon beaches," he said. "Remember?" I did. Around 10, Vivian made her move. She appeared at our table during a lull, smile practiced, voice honey-sweet. "Dr. Sterling, what a lovely evening. And Martin," she turned to me like we were old friends. "You look wonderful. Doesn't he clean up well?" The condescension was subtle but unmistakable. Adrian's expression could have frozen nitrogen. "Vivian, how's your conference planning going? Found a keynote speaker yet?" Her smile tightened. "Still working on it." "I recommend Dr. Chen from Johns Hopkins. He's at table 7. Brilliant researcher, actually enjoys pharmaceutical conferences." Adrian's tone was pleasant ice. "Though he does charge significant fees, something about respecting professional boundaries." The barb landed. Vivian's composure cracked slightly. "I was actually hoping we could discuss—" "No." Adrian stood, extending his hand to me. "We're going to get some air. Excuse us." We left her standing there, visibly struggling to maintain composure in front of watching eyes. On the terrace, cool air washed over us. The city spread below, lights twinkling like earthbound stars. "That was brutal," I said. "That was necessary. She needs to understand that no means no. She's going to make Aaron miserable about this. That's Aaron's choice. He's a grown man who's allowed to set boundaries with his wife." Adrian turned to me. "You're allowed to set boundaries with both of them." "I don't know how to do that without losing them completely." "Then maybe losing them is the price of finding yourself." He cupped my face gently. "You can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, Martin. It just leaves everyone burned." We stayed outside for 20 minutes, talking quietly, watching the city breathe. When we returned, Aaron was waiting by our table. "Dad, can we talk? Privately?" I looked at Adrian, who nodded. "I'll be at the bar." Aaron led me to a quiet corner, away from the music and chatter. Up close, he looked exhausted. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. I waited. I haven't been a good son. Not since Mom died. Maybe not before that either." He rubbed his face. "Vivian's been pushing this networking thing, and I went along with it because it's easier than arguing. But watching you tonight," he gestured helplessly, "you're happy. Really happy. And I'm angry that it took a stranger to make you feel that way." "Adrian's not a stranger. He is to me. And that's my fault." Aaron's voice cracked. "I should have been there. At the airport. After your surgery, always. And I wasn't." My throat tightened. "No, you weren't. Can you forgive me? I thought about 18 years of loneliness. of being taken for granted, dismissed, made small, of all the times I'd swallowed my hurt because keeping peace seemed more important than being seen. I don't know, I said honestly. I want to. But forgiveness isn't a light switch, Aaron. It's a process. And it requires change, real change, not just apologies. What do you need from me? Respect, boundaries. Stop letting Vivian use me as a networking tool. I took a breath. And maybe get to know Adrian as a person instead of a professional opportunity. He matters to me. If you love me, that should matter to you too. Aaron nodded slowly. Okay, I can try. Trying is a start. We stood there awkwardly, a father and son who'd forgotten how to be either. He makes you happy? Aaron asked finally. Yes. Then I'm glad, really. He managed a small smile, even if his timing with Vivian is absolutely terrible. His timing is perfect. She needed to hear no. Aaron laughed. Actually laughed. She's furious. Called you several creative names on the drive here. I don't doubt it. For what it's worth, Dad, Aaron met my eyes. You deserve to be happy. I'm sorry it took me so long to say that. We didn't hug. That would come later, maybe. Or maybe not. But something had shifted. Some locked door had cracked open just slightly. I returned to Adrian at the bar. He took one look at my face and handed me a whiskey. How bad? Surprisingly okay. Aaron apologized. And Vivian? Still exists, presumably with fangs. He laughed, the sound warm and real. Want to leave? God, yes. We made our exits, thanking hosts, promising donations, playing the social game with practiced ease. In the Bentley, Adrian loosened his bow tie and sighed with relief. I hate these things, he admitted. You seemed comfortable. Years of practice. Doesn't mean I enjoy it. He reached for my hand. Though tonight was different. Better. Because of the dancing or the public humiliation of my daughter-in-law? Both. Definitely both. We drove in comfortable silence, the city giving way to suburbs, then to my quiet street. At my door, Adrian hesitated. I should go home. Let you rest. Or you could stay, like you have been most nights this week. He smiled. Is this your way of asking me to move in? This is my way of saying I sleep better when you're here. That's even better than asking. Inside, we shed our formal wear like snakeskins, expensive fabric pooling on my bedroom floor. In bed, Adrian curled against me, his breathing evening out almost immediately. I lay awake longer, thinking about choices and consequences, about the life I'd been living versus the life I wanted to live. Somewhere between sleep and waking, I made a decision. I was done being small. The intervention happened on a Tuesday. I should have seen it coming. Aaron had been calling, actually calling, not texting, checking in, asking about my recovery, my plans, my life. It felt genuine. I'd started to hope. Hope is dangerous when you're dealing with people who've hurt you before. The doorbell rang at 7 p.m. I was making dinner. Adrian was working late, emergency surgery, when I opened the door to find Aaron, Vivian, and two people I didn't recognize. A woman in her 50s wearing a compassionate expression and carrying a leather portfolio. A man about Aaron's age in business casual. Dad, these are colleagues of Vivian's. Dr. Lisa Martinez, she's a therapist, and James Brennan, family counselor. We thought it would help to have professional perspective. My stomach dropped. Perspective on what? On your relationship with Dr. Sterling, Vivian said, pushing past me into my house like she owned it. We're concerned about your judgment. They'd staged an intervention about my relationship with professionals they'd hired. I stood in my doorway, frozen between disbelief and rage. We just want to talk, Dr. Martinez said gently. May we come in? You're already in. They arranged themselves in my living room, Vivian and Aaron on the couch, the two professionals in chairs, creating a semicircle with me as the focal point, like a tribunal. Martin, Dr. Martinez began, her voice dripping with practiced empathy. Your son and daughter-in-law are worried. After significant medical trauma, it's common to form intense attachments to caregivers. What we call transference. I know what transference is. I'm not stupid. No one's saying you're stupid, James the counselor interjected. But relationships formed during vulnerable periods often don't survive once health is restored. Adrian and I met 6 months before my surgery. Vivian leaned forward. Martin, be honest. Has he given you money? Expensive gifts? Access to exclusive events? He's given me his time, his attention, his care. Which is exactly what makes this concerning, Dr. Martinez said. He's a wealthy, powerful man. You're recently widowed, 18 years ago. Isolated, recovering from trauma, financially stable but not wealthy. She consulted her notes. The power differential alone raises questions about consent. I stared at her. Consent? I'm 67 years old. I can consent to a relationship. Of course, she said soothingly. But we want to ensure you're not being manipulated, consciously or unconsciously. Aaron spoke up, sounding genuinely worried. Dad, we've done research. Dr. Sterling has dated before. Has he? This was news. Vivian pulled out her phone, scrolling. 3 relationships in the past 20 years that we could find. All with younger men. All relatively short-lived. So he's had relationships, like most adults. All ended when the partners wanted more commitment, she continued. He's 58, never married, no children, classic commitment-phobic profile. James nodded. These patterns suggest someone who enjoys the excitement of new relationships but abandons them when they become work. I looked at Aaron. You hired these people to tell me my boyfriend is going to leave me? We hired them to help you see clearly, Aaron said, before you get hurt. I'm already hurt. By this. By you thinking I'm too stupid or damaged to make my own choices. Dr. Martinez tried again. Martin, no one thinks you're stupid. But grief, surgery, loneliness, these create vulnerabilities. Add in someone charismatic, successful, attentive. Someone who actually sees me, who treats me like I matter. Someone who might be love-bombing you, Vivian said bluntly. It's a manipulation tactic. Overwhelming affection to create dependency. I stood up. Get out. Dad, all of you, get out of my house. We're trying to help. You're trying to control me. There's a difference. I turned to the professionals. I don't know what they're paying you, but it's not enough to justify participating in this ambush. Dr. Martinez stood, maintaining her calm demeanor. Martin, I understand you're upset, but I hope you'll consider what we've discussed. Here's my card if you'd like to talk. I won't. They left slowly, reluctantly. Vivian paused at the door. When he's done with you, don't come crying to us. I closed the door in her face. Then I stood in my quiet house, shaking with adrenaline and fury, and called Adrian. He answered on the second ring, sounding exhausted. Martin, is everything okay? They staged an intervention. Aaron and Vivian brought therapists, told me you're manipulating me. Silence. Then, carefully, what did you say? I told them to leave. Good. A pause. Are you okay? No, yes. I don't know. I sat down heavily. Adrian, tell me the truth. Have you dated younger men before? Another pause, longer this time. Yes. 3 relationships over 20 years. None lasted more than 2 years. Why? Because I'm married to my career. Because I work 80-hour weeks and cancel plans for emergencies. Because I'm obsessive and demanding and terrible at compromise. His voice was quiet. Because none of them were you. What's different about me? Everything. You don't want me to be less than I am. You don't ask me to work less or be different. You see what I do as important, not as competition for my attention. He took a breath. And I'm terrified because I've never felt this way. Never wanted someone to stay this badly. I pressed my palm against my chest, feeling my rebuilt heart beating. I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I, but Martin, his voice turned serious. You need to know what you're signing up for. I miss dinners. I get called away at 2 a.m. I'll forget anniversaries and birthdays because I'm elbows deep in someone's chest cavity. I know. And I'm 58, set in my ways. I correct people's grammar. I organize my closet by color and season. I listen to opera in the car. I'm 67. I watch home improvement shows and fall asleep by 9. I still use a flip phone for everything except texting you. He laughed. Soft. Real. We're ridiculous. We're perfect. I'm still in surgery. Another hour, maybe 2. Can I come over after? I'll be awake. I wasn't. I fell asleep on the couch around 10, exhausted from emotional warfare. I woke to gentle hands lifting me, carrying me. Adrian? Shh. You fell asleep. I'm just moving you to bed. He carried me like I weighed nothing, laid me down gently, and started to pull away. Stay, I mumbled. I'm covered in hospital smell and need a shower. Don't care. Stay. He hesitated, then kicked off his shoes and lay down beside me, fully clothed. I curled against him, breathing in the scent of antiseptic and exhaustion and home. They think you're going to leave me, I said into the darkness. They're wrong. How do you know? Because I've spent 30 years searching for something I couldn't name. Then you asked how my day was going while you were waiting for consultation on your potentially failing heart. His arms tightened around me. You're what I've been looking for, Martin. I'm not letting go. I fell asleep feeling safer than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Adrian on the phone, speaking in rapid medical terminology. He saw me watching and mouthed hospital apologetically. I waved him off, heading to the kitchen. Found breakfast laid out. Toast, eggs, fresh fruit. A note. Had to use your terrible coffee. Buying you an espresso machine. He found me smiling at the note when he hung up. Emergency? No, just coordination for a transplant patient. He poured coffee, grimacing at the taste. This is truly awful, Martin. How do you drink this? Years of practice and low standards. Both problems we can fix. He sat down across from me, looking serious. About last night. About what they said. You already explained. No, I need to say this properly. He set down his cup. I've avoided commitment my whole life, used work as an excuse, convinced myself I was better alone. Then I met you, and suddenly alone feels like a prison sentence. Adrian, let me finish. I'm not good at this, at feelings, vulnerability, any of it. But I'm willing to learn. For you. With you. He reached across the table, taking my hand. What I'm trying to say, badly, is that I'm in love with you. The world stopped. You don't have to say it back, he continued quickly. I know it's fast. I know we're still learning each other. But I needed you to know. Whatever they said, whatever they think, you're not a phase. You're not a distraction. You're... I love you too, I interrupted. I've been falling since you picked me up from the airport. Maybe since the consultation 6 months ago. I just didn't think I was allowed to feel this way again. You're allowed. He stood, came around the table, pulled me up and into his arms. God, Martin, you're allowed to feel everything. He kissed me, deep, thorough, tasting like terrible coffee and promise. My phone rang. Aaron. I ignored it. It rang again. Vivian. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Want me to answer? I have some choice words. Tempting, but no. I turned off my phone. They don't get to intrude on this moment. We spent the morning in bed, not sexually, just existing together. Adrian made calls, reviewed patient files on his tablet. I read while he worked, our legs tangled together, comfortable silence filling the space. Around noon, my doorbell rang. If that's them again, Adrian said, I'm calling the police. It wasn't them. It was Diane holding a bottle of wine and wearing a knowing smile. Adrian texted me, said you had a rough night and might need friendly company. She thrust the wine at me. Also, I'm nosy and want to hear everything. 3 hours later, we were on our second bottle, Diane regaling us with horror stories from medical school, while Adrian interjected corrections. You cannot tell that story without mentioning I saved your ass in biochemistry, he said. I saved your ass in gross anatomy. You fainted during the first dissection. I had low blood sugar. You're squeamish. Admit it. Watching them bicker was like watching siblings, comfortable, affectionate, built on decades of shared history. How did you two meet? I asked. Residency, Diane said. He was insufferable, still is, but he's brilliant, loyal, and once you crack that icy exterior, surprisingly warm. I'm right here, Adrian protested. I know. I'm complimenting you. Try to enjoy it. She left around 4, hugging us both. You're good for him, Martin. Don't let the vultures convince you otherwise. After she'd gone, Adrian and I stood in my kitchen, washing wine glasses, existing in domestic simplicity. Move in with me, he said suddenly. I nearly dropped the glass I was drying. What? Move in. My place or yours, I don't care. But I'm tired of going home to an empty house when I could be coming home to you. That's fast. We're 67 and 58 respectively. Fast is relative. He turned to face me fully. I love you. I want to build a life with you. Why wait? What about Aaron? Vivian? They'll lose their minds. Let them. Their opinions don't get to dictate our happiness. I thought about my house, full of memories, Margaret's ghost in every corner. About Adrian's place, which I'd never seen but imagined was sleek, modern, utterly unlike anywhere I belonged. Your place, I heard myself say, on one condition. Name it. I bring my terrible coffee maker. He laughed, pulled me close. Deal. Adrian's house was not what I expected. I'd imagined chrome and glass, minimalist furniture, the kind of space that looked like a magazine spread. Instead, I found warmth. The craftsman-style home sat on 2 acres outside the city, surrounded by trees that whispered in the wind. Inside, hardwood floors, built-in bookshelves groaning with medical texts and classic literature, a fireplace that looked actually used, photos on the walls, Adrian at various conferences, receiving awards, but also candid shots of hiking trips, dinner with friends, a younger version of him laughing with an elderly woman who had his eyes. Your mother? I asked, pointing. Yes. She died 5 years ago. Stroke. Fast. He stood beside me, looking at the photo. She would have liked you. She always said I needed someone who'd call me on my bullshit. I can do that. I'm counting on it. The guest room, soon to be my room, our room, overlooked a garden that had been professionally designed but allowed to grow slightly wild. A reading nook by the window, perfect for morning coffee. Space for my books, my clothes, my life. It's perfect, I said. It's been empty too long. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. Ready to fill it with terrible coffee and home improvement shows? We spent the week moving my things. Not everything. The house would be rented furnished, a decision that felt both practical and terrifying. Closing a chapter. Beginning another. Aaron called once during the move. I let it go to voicemail. Vivian sent an email with the subject line "Final Warning." I deleted it unread. Adrian noticed. Cutting them off? Setting boundaries. There's a difference. Is there? For you? I thought about it while packing Margaret's photo albums, keeping them, because erasing history wasn't healing. I'm not punishing them. I'm protecting myself. When they're ready to respect my choices, I'll be here. And if they're never ready, then I'll grieve that loss and keep living anyway. He kissed my temple. You're stronger than you think. I'm learning. Moving day arrived with unexpected help. Diane and her wife showed up with a truck, refusing to take no for an answer. Dr. Chen from the hospital appeared with coffee and pastries. Even Julian arrived, claiming he needed to ensure proper closet organization. By evening, my life had merged with Adrian's. My terrible coffee maker sat next to his elaborate espresso machine, a compromise we'd laughed about for 20 minutes. My photos joined his on the mantel. My books filled empty shelves. My presents filled empty spaces. That night, we christened the bedroom properly. Adrian was careful, gentle, conscious of my still healing chest. His hands mapped my body like he was memorizing terrain, finding scars and softness with equal reverence. You're beautiful, he whispered against my skin. I'm old. You're perfect. He kissed the scar bisecting my chest. Every part, even the parts that hurt. Afterwards, wrapped in expensive sheets that smelled like cedar and him, I felt something shift fundamentally. This wasn't just sharing space. This was building a life. What are you thinking? Adrian asked, tracing patterns on my shoulder. That I'm happy and terrified of losing it. Welcome to love. It's always terrifying. The peaceful domesticity lasted exactly 4 days. Then Vivian showed up at Adrian's house, our house, somehow having discovered the address. She rang the doorbell at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, when Adrian was still asleep and I was attempting to master his espresso machine. I opened the door in pajama pants and Adrian's MIT sweatshirt. Her eyes swept over me with barely concealed disgust. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." "Martin, please, I'm trying to save you from humiliation." "By humiliating me yourself?" She pushed past me, again, and I was starting to see a pattern. Vivian believed doors didn't apply to her. "Nice place," she said, looking around with calculating eyes. "Must be worth, what, 2 million? 3? I don't know. I live here, I don't appraise it." "That's exactly my point. You don't know his financial situation, his history, anything real. You're playing house with someone completely out of your league." "Is there a point to this visit?" She turned to face me, and for a moment, I saw something almost human in her expression. Fear, maybe, or genuine concern buried under layers of ambition and calculation. "I had you investigated," she said quietly. My blood went cold. "You what?" "Dr. Sterling, I hired a private investigator. I needed to know what kind of person Aaron's father was involving himself with." "You had no right." "I had every right. Your family, Martin. Dysfunctional, but family." She pulled out a folder from her bag. "Do you want to know what I found?" I should have said no, should have thrown her out. But curiosity, or maybe fear, made me take the folder. Inside, Adrian's complete relationship history. Photos of him with other men, younger men, at various events over the years. Financial records showing significant charitable donations. A list of professional achievements that read like a medical fantasy. And nothing scandalous, nothing damning. "What am I supposed to see here?" I asked. "That you're a pattern, not special, just the latest in a series." "Did you read your own investigation? These relationships ended mutually. He's never been accused of anything inappropriate. He's respected, ethical, successful, and you're none of those things." The words landed like a slap. Vivian softened slightly, seeing she'd struck a nerve. "I'm not trying to be cruel, Martin, but look at the facts. You're a retired insurance adjuster. He's internationally renowned. You've never traveled. He speaks 4 languages. Your idea of culture is the History Channel." "What happened to you?" I asked quietly. "When did you become someone who measures human worth in achievements and bank statements?" "I'm being realistic. You're being cruel and sad." I handed back the folder. "I'm sorry you live in a world where love is transactional, where people are only valuable if they can advance your career or boost your social standing. But I don't live there anymore." "He will leave you, maybe. People leave. They die. They change. That's life, Vivian. But I'd rather have 6 months of being truly seen than 60 years of being useful furniture." A sound behind me. Adrian standing in the hallway wearing pajama pants and bedhead, looking between us with dangerous calm. "Vivian." His voice could have frozen nitrogen. "You have 60 seconds to leave my home before I call the police." "Dr. Sterling, I was just—" 50 seconds. "And if you ever have Martin investigated again, my attorneys will destroy you so thoroughly, you'll wish for simple unemployment." He stepped forward, and even half asleep he radiated authority. "You don't get to decide what's good for him. He's not your project or your responsibility. He's mine, and I protect what's mine." Vivian left without another word. After the door closed, Adrian pulled me into his arms. "You okay?" "She had you investigated." "I know. My attorney called yesterday. I was trying to figure out how to tell you. He kissed my forehead. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. The folder showed nothing bad, because there's nothing bad to find. I'm boring, Martin. I work, I read medical journals, I occasionally attend operas. That's my whole life. Not anymore. He smiled. No. Now I have you, which is infinitely better than opera. We spent the rest of the morning on the couch, drinking coffee, both kinds, and talking about boundaries, safety, what to do about Aaron and Vivian's escalating behavior. We could get a restraining order, Adrian suggested. That feels extreme. They're showing up uninvited, conducting investigations. It's harassment, Martin. They're family. Family doesn't give people permission to violate your peace. My phone rang. Aaron again. This time I answered. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't know Vivian was going to... Stop. I took a breath. Aaron, I love you. I will always love you. But I need space. Real space. No pop-up interventions. No investigations. No calculated visits designed to manipulate my choices. I just want you to be happy. Then respect my boundaries. When I'm ready to see you, if I'm ready, I'll reach out. Until then, stop calling. Stop showing up. Stop treating me like I'm incompetent. Silence, then quietly. Okay, I understand. Do you? I'm trying to. I really am trying, Dad. I hung up feeling hollowed out and oddly free. Adrian ordered Thai food. We ate on the couch watching a documentary about ancient Rome that I'd never admit I found fascinating. His hand rested on my thigh, warm and grounding. Thank you, I said during a commercial break. For defending you, always. For choosing me, despite everything. He set down his food, turned to face me fully. Martin, listen carefully. You are not despite everything. You are because of everything. Your kindness, your resilience, your absolute refusal to become bitter despite having every reason. Those aren't flaws. They're why I love you. I'm still learning to believe that. Then I'll keep saying it until you do. He kissed me softly. You're worth fighting for, even if I have to fight you to prove it. That night, lying in bed with rain pattering against the windows, I felt something settle inside me. Not happiness exactly. That felt too simple. But rightness, like pieces finally fitting into place. I think I'm healing, I said into the darkness. Adrian's arms tightened around me. Good. You deserve to. The porch was glowing when we arrived home from the hospital fundraiser. Candles everywhere. Mason jars filled with tea lights, arranged on the steps, the railings, creating a pathway of soft light leading to the front door. Music drifting from hidden speakers, something classical and romantic. I stopped in the driveway, stunned. Adrian, what? I had help. Diane has a key. He came around, opened my door, offered his hand. Come on. The front door was unlocked. Inside, more candles, a table set for two with flowers and champagne. Through the windows, I could see the garden lit up, fairy lights strung through trees creating constellations. What is all this? A celebration. He guided me to the table, pulled out my chair. Of you, of courage, of choosing yourself. I sat down, overwhelmed. I didn't do anything. You stood up to Aaron and Vivian. You set boundaries. You chose peace over guilt. He poured champagne, handed me a glass. That's everything, Martin. That's revolutionary. We ate dinner, prepared by someone far more talented than either of us, and talked about the fundraiser, the hospital politics, everything and nothing. Adrian was relaxed, happy, more open than I'd ever seen him. After dinner, he led me outside to the garden. The fairy lights made everything magical, transforming ordinary trees into something from a storybook. In the center, a blanket spread on the grass, more candles, pillows arranged for comfort. "Lie down with me," Adrian said. We lay on our backs, looking up at stars mostly obscured by light pollution, but still there, still present. His hand found mine. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," he said. I thought about it. After Margaret died, I used to set the table for two. Every night for a month. I'd make dinner, set out 2 plates, then throw away the food because I couldn't eat alone. That's grief, it's honest. Your turn. He was quiet for a long moment. I almost quit medicine. 5 years ago. I was exhausted, burnt out, convinced I'd given everything and had nothing left. I had the resignation letter written. What stopped you? A patient. 16-year-old girl, car accident, heart damage. I operated for 9 hours. She survived. 6 months later, she came back for follow-up and told me she wanted to be a doctor. Because of me. He squeezed my hand. I realized I wasn't tired of medicine. I was tired of doing it alone. You're not alone anymore. No. He turned on his side, facing me. I'm not. We kissed under stars and fairy lights, tasting like champagne and promise. When we finally went inside, the candles had burned low, creating shadows that danced on the walls. In bed, Adrian held me close. I have something to tell you. My heart seized. Good or bad? Terrifying. He took a breath. I've been offered a position. Chief of Cardiology at Seattle Memorial. It's a dream job. More resources, better research opportunities, chance to build a program from scratch. That's amazing. Congratulations. I haven't accepted. Why not? Because it would mean leaving, moving to Seattle, starting over. He looked at me directly. And I won't do it without you. I won't choose my career over you. Not again. I stared at him. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm yours, completely. If you want to stay here, I'll turn it down. If you're willing to move, I'll accept. But whatever I choose, we choose together. 18 years. 18 years I'd been making myself small, accommodating other people's dreams, never considering my own wants might matter. Tell me about Seattle, I said. Rainy, beautiful, near the ocean you wanted to see. There's a house, I looked at photos. Victorian, needs work, huge garden, close to the hospital. His voice was careful, hopeful. I could see us there, but only if you can too. I thought about my rented house, full of memories that were starting to feel like anchors instead of treasures. About Aaron and Vivian. About the weight of proximity to people who couldn't see me clearly. About the ocean. About starting fresh. About being someone new in a place where no one expected me to stay small. When do they need an answer? 2 weeks. Then we have 2 weeks to visit Seattle and see if it feels like home. Adrian's smile could have powered the city. Really? Really. But I get to help design the garden, and we're bringing the terrible coffee maker. Deal. We flew to Seattle the following weekend. The city was everything Adrian promised. Rain-soaked, green, beautiful in a moody way that felt like permission to be complicated. The hospital was state-of-the-art. The house was perfect. We walked on beaches at sunset, tasted coffee that put my terrible maker to shame, explored neighborhoods that felt both foreign and welcoming. Adrian introduced me to colleagues who'd be moving with him, all of whom treated me like I belonged. On our last night, standing on Alki Beach watching the sun set over the Olympics, Adrian asked, "What do you think?" I think Margaret would tell me I'm an idiot if I let fear stop me from living. Is that a yes? That's a yes. We returned home to find a letter from Aaron. Not an email or text, an actual handwritten letter. Dad, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not even asking you to respond. I just need to say I'm sorry. You were right. About everything. About how I've treated you. About Vivian using you. About me being ashamed when I should have been proud. I've spent so many years trying to be someone impressive that I forgot being decent matters more. Dr. Sterling makes you happy in ways I haven't seen since before Mom died. That should have been enough for me. Instead, I let Vivian's ambition and my own insecurity turn me into someone I don't recognize. I'm working on it. Therapy, boundaries, actually examining my choices instead of just reacting. It's hard, but you deserve better than what I've given you. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're happy. You deserve that. Love, Aaron. I read it twice, then showed Adrian. What do you want to do? He asked. Not sure yet, but I'm keeping the letter. I folded it carefully. That's growth for him. Acknowledging it matters. 3 days later, I called Aaron. Dad? He sounded shocked to hear my voice. I got your letter. I meant every word. I know. That's why I'm calling. I took a breath. Adrian and I are moving to Seattle. He's taking a new position. We leave in 6 weeks. Silence. Then, that's big. It's necessary. Fresh start. Ocean air. Space to figure out who I am when I'm not defined by grief or duty. I'm happy for you, Dad. Really? His voice cracked. Can I see you? Before you leave? Just coffee. No Vivian, no agenda. Just us. I looked at Adrian, who nodded encouragingly. Okay, coffee. Tuesday at 10, the cafe downtown. We met at a neutral location, public enough to feel safe, quiet enough for real conversation. Aaron showed up early, looking nervous, ordering my coffee before I arrived. He'd remembered how I took it. Thanks for coming, he said as I sat down. Thanks for writing. We talked, really talked, for the first time in years, about his therapy, about recognizing patterns, about how Vivian had moved out temporarily while they figured out if their marriage could survive her refusal to respect boundaries. I think I married someone like me, Aaron admitted. Ambitious, controlling, afraid of being ordinary. That works professionally. It's poison personally. Are you divorcing? I don't know. Maybe. She's in intensive therapy too. We're trying. He looked at me directly. But either way, I won't sacrifice my relationship with you again. Not for her. Not for anyone. That's good to hear. Tell me about Seattle. About Dr. Sterling. About your new life. So I did. And for the first time in 18 years, Aaron listened like he actually cared. We said goodbye with a hug. Awkward, but real. I love you, Dad. I love you too. I didn't know if we'd rebuild what was broken, but we'd started, which was something. The move happened fast. Adrian's hospital handled logistics, movers packed efficiently, and suddenly my entire life fit into boxes labeled for a future I'd never imagined. The night before we left, Diane threw us a farewell dinner. Colleagues, friends, people who'd become family gathered to wish us well. Stories, laughter, gifts for our new home. "You're going to be extraordinary there," Diane said, hugging me tight. "Both of you. You'll visit? Try to stop me. Someone has to make sure Adrian doesn't work himself to death." Our last morning in the city, I visited Margaret's grave. I hadn't been in 6 months, not since before the surgery. The headstone was weathered, flowers I'd planted years ago still blooming stubbornly. I sat on the grass, talking to her like I used to. "I'm moving, Maggie. Seattle. With a man I love. I think you'd approve. He's brilliant and kind and sees me the way you did." I traced her name carved in stone. "I'm happy. Really happy. And I feel guilty about it, like I'm leaving you behind." The wind rustled through trees. Birds sang. Life continuing, indifferent to human grief. "But I think you'd want this for me. You always said the worst thing I could do was stop living. So I'm choosing to live. Fully. Finally." I stood up, brushing grass from my pants. "I'll always love you. That doesn't change. But I'm allowed to love him too. Both are real. Both matter." I left feeling lighter. Adrian was waiting in the Bentley, our last belongings packed, ready for the drive north. "Okay?" he asked as I slid into the passenger seat. "Yeah, I'm okay." We drove through the city one last time, past familiar streets and old memories, toward the highway that would take us north, toward ocean air and new beginnings, toward a life chosen instead of endured. "Ready?" Adrian asked at the highway entrance. I looked at him, this extraordinary man who'd seen me when I was invisible, who'd chosen me when I felt unchosen, who'd given me permission to want more than I'd allowed myself. "Ready." We merged onto the highway as the sun broke through clouds, golden light spilling across the road ahead. I was 67 years old. I was in love. I was choosing joy. And I was finally, beautifully, unafraid.